Hello friends, welcome to another vlog. I have a front wad and a back wad of a vest, and I think this might be the vlog where I finish it. It has been a month, and that's about how long it takes me to make any given article of clothing right now for some reason. I think if I was working consistently, I don't think it would take this long, but I'm not, so it does. I have 2 pages of instructions left, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and make that happen. So thanks for joining me on this adventure. Sorry it's taking forever. The next thing I want to make is the American Duchess cape, and I'm like, but it's gonna be 100 degrees here later this week. It's like 90 degrees out right now. Suddenly it's summer. I also trashed the outside of my house because we have this pond. We have a koi pond, and it's a like giant 2,000 gallon pond, and it's absolutely beautiful. But the person who built the pond before us and who lived here before us had this giant stash of stuff that he had for the pond, like just random like hoses and filters and just stuff that he just threw behind the pond. And it's been sitting there for the 6 years we've owned this house. So I decided to clean it up, and by clean it up I mean just move it onto our like patio type area with this like giant brick area. Anyway, I moved it out there so that it would annoy me enough that I would go clean it up, and now it is doing just that. I want to go clean it up super bad, but it's also 90 degrees outside, so I'm gonna wait until the sun goes down more, not all the way obviously, but more, before I go deal with that, because I would really like to have a tiny patio and a beautiful backyard again. And now I don't have to like have that nagging little thing in the back of your head. Ugh, that's the way I am. That's the problem, and this is why I sew so slowly, is because I have all these little things that knit in the back of my mind and are like, hey, you should clean your bathroom. Hey, you should do blah blah blah. Hey, you should blah blah blah. So I try not to give in too much to that, or else I would just be constantly cleaning. It's not that bad because I can resist it for the most part, but I do see those things and I go, like, you know, I need to clean the window in this room really bad. But it means I need to take it out of its like frame and to take it down and clean it and figure out how to clean the outside on the second story, and just why am I like this? I guess I never really talked about this on here, but like Abby and I both hit 10,000 subscribers on Instagram, which, like, I don't care about the numbers. Like, I really don't care. Like, I think it's bizarre that I have 10,000 people that follow my Instagram. I think that it's bizarre that there's like 13,000 of you. Like, I'm just like, what? Why? Anyway, what I do like is that at 10,000 you get swipe up, which means I can link my Instagram, hey, I have a YouTube video up, post to the YouTube video, which is like all I want in life. Like, if they had given that to us instantly, I just would never care what the number was at all. Anyway, so the community was amazing. Like, we were both at about 9,000 on the same day, and we had always talked about the fact that we would probably want to like kind of do it together. And at one point she was like, wait up, and I'm like, I'll wait for you, don't worry. And then she put out like an amazing video and she caught up super fast. I'm like, I told you I'd wait for you. So anyway, we did this like race to 10K on Instagram one day, and like in one day we both went from 9,100 or something to 10,000. It was crazy. Like, the amount of people, I think there was like over 50 people shared a thing in on their stories that said, hey, go follow Noelle and Abby. It was amazing. Like, I was so touched and like felt so loved that day, and like, you know, basically every day since. I mean, I kind of feel loved all the time anyway. Like, you guys are awesome. The comments are amazing. Like, I just love this community so much. I really do. Speaking of that, wait, let me finish my thought and then I'll come to the next slide. So we were trying to get to 10,000 and we were trying to do it together, and we did it. So it was really exciting. So we decided to do a giveaway, and we decided we wanted to have as many winners as possible. So we made one where there are 4 different prizes and 4 different winners, but you can win like on each of our channels. So you could win 2 prizes. And then there's a 5th special prize if you put a thing in your stories. No, in your feed, not in your stories, because we can't see stories a week away, like a week out, because they only last 24 hours. So anyway, my phone has been blowing up. Just like absolutely, I cannot get anything done because it's just like buzz, 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 buzz. And like anytime I'm trying to click on something, like somebody sent me something and I try to click on it to like go to whatever that app was, 6 Instagram notifications come, and I'm like, I'm in Instagram again. So I think I'm gonna have to turn off Instagram notifications, but it's crazy, like tons of comments, because that's how you win. All you have to do is be subscribed to both me and Abby and leave a comment. And if you leave a comment in both of our stories, you get 2 entries, 2 chances, because we're picking 2 people out of each of our comment section from that one post. So anyway, it'll still be going by the time you guys see this vlog. So if you see this before Friday the 29th of May, yes, those dates, then go ahead and go to our Instagram accounts and make a comment on the 10K posts. Like, they're obvious. The art is absolutely ridiculous for them. Like, Abby photoshopped us in like underwater. There's one that where we're in space and we have helmets on, you can't even see us. There's one where we're in Nintendo. There's one where we're like in front of a castle and we have crowns on, and there's like gnomes everywhere. It's ridiculous. Like, it's such a bad, awesome Photoshop job. I just love it, and everybody seems to be really appreciating it. So yeah, we're having a really good time with it. But it's like, I spent all day yesterday looking at that when I really should have been answering YouTube comments. I should do that. I'm gonna do that tonight. But first, this vest. Oh yeah, the other thought. So last Thursday I did a live Instagram for IGTV with Amy of Dressing Miss Dashwood, and it was about community, and we were just chatting and stuff, but it's Mental Health Awareness Week, or it was Mental Health Awareness Week last week in England. So we did a chat and we were largely talking about community and how much it like helps and how much it means to us and stuff like that. So if you want to go watch that, I will link it down below for you and above so that you can go ahead and watch that on her IGTV account. And also, she is just like the most amazing person. She's so sweet and very kind and funny and like such a great costumer all around. Like, she does Regency stuff, and it's just, she's in this society called the Jane Austen Pineapples when I'm a pine nut, which means I'm in the Jane Austen Pineapples Society fan club. I am the fan club. I met them all at Bath and it was really awesome, and I really enjoyed them. So I was very happy to talk to Amy that day. It was really lovely. Okay, we're at this neck hole part of this, and a lot of people have actually been DMing me, asking me to explain it to them because they're trying to make this vest also and are very confused. So I'm just going to do it here so you all can see. I'm going to explain it here, although this is like, I have to turn it around in order to actually sew it. But anyway, so when you look at this, this is a square and this is obviously not a square. So when they say sew the shoulder seams, they mean sew this seam right here to here. And so this seam to here, and this part will in fact all fit here. So if you're confused about it, that's how it works. Also, there's this point that's right here, and it's like basically the 5/8 inch mark right there, and you start sewing here and you sew out towards the outside, and you start sewing here and you sew out towards the outside, and then you clip this to that point. And what that does is allow this to open up, stretch out, so that it is more this shape. I hope that makes sense. When I pin it, I'll show you all, and so you can maybe see it from that perspective. Okay, here it is pinned. This is the other shoulder, this is the neck, and this is the shoulder I'm pinning. So you pin it, and you pin it basically to where the seam allowance starts, and then you wrap the seam allowance of this guy around, because it is eventually, this is the armhole, so it is going to actually eventually wrap around. So you sew from the point at which, this is why thread marking was actually kind of badass, because you can sew from the point at which this seam allowance turns, so this point right here, you sew from here to the edge, and you do catch this folded over edge, and then you trim this down a little bit, and you do press the seam forward. And everyone thinks like, oh, you always press seams backwards so that it's towards the back, you want the bulk towards the back. That's not actually true. In couture sewing, you sew a lot of the seams, or you press a lot of the seams forward, because if you press a seam to the back, it creates a bump that you can see from the front, like you see the bump. But if you press the seam forward, the bump is actually goes down towards the back, so it looks seamless basically if you're looking at someone from the front. So it actually makes more sense to press your seams forward in a lot of cases. And then when I'm done, I'm going to clip this from this corner down to this little dot right here. so that it lets it open up. I hope that makes sense. Okay, we have acquired so much cat hair. I like literally just cleaned this off. Okay, never mind. So here are the shoulder seams, and as you can see, I clipped this down so it opened up to more fit the back piece. So this is how that works for people who are like, what? So this is the neck seam, and this is the neck seam here. So the next thing I have to do is just pin these together. There is a little bit of easing that goes on in here. So you just pin them together, and then so from that exact same spot right here in the corner to that exact same spot right here in the corner, and you're all good. Also, you're supposed to trim back the seam allowances, like grade them and make it and press them towards the front so you can catch stitch this down. So cool, I did that, except here I did it backwards. It's gonna be okay because I'm just gonna catch stitch this and then catch stitch this. It'll be fine. I think it's gonna get covered by the lining anyway, which has been sitting over there. Focus anytime now for like a month. Okay, here's what that looks like. It's all tacked down. And now I get to do a bunch of basting, apparently. Just kidding, it is side seam sewing time. So I have a vest. It's not done by any standard. I still need to do buttons and buttonholes, and it doesn't fit me because I'm not wearing my corset. But it does look pretty good, and I'm pretty pumped on it. The fit is pretty good. And it looks banging, so my watch goes in the right spot and all that jibber jabber, so woo woo. The side seams are done. So now I have to go do a lot of basting and then sew down the facing here and then put an interior in. I did sew the side seam at 1/2 instead of 5/8 intentionally because when I tried it on earlier it did fit really well, but I just want to make sure that it can accommodate, like that was a muslin and this is thick wool and I'm gonna put a lining in here and then there's gonna be a shirt and I just, you know, want to make sure that stays on point. Okay, I had to baste the entire edge, so down here, up, along, around, and back, and then I had to turn this guy, and now I'm gonna baste it again on the inside right here to hold the turn, because that'll tell me how far the facing can sit, and then I get to fell all that down. Okay, 1,000,000 felling stitches later, I am done with this task. I will have more felling because I have to fill down the armholes still, which go around this tape. I'm gonna think about that for a minute, but first I'm gonna pull out all this basting so that it's all out and everything can move on its own and I can iron it freely and stuff. Okay, that's all done. I only have 3 more instructions left, but they are to finish the armhole, sew in the entire lining, and do the buttonholes. So, you know, still got a ways to go. I'm gonna work on these armholes though. Probably do the other stuff tomorrow maybe, but yeah. I mean, I'm slow in general, but this is actually quite a process to get this thing like tailored properly. It's not just me. I am slow though. Okie dokie, that's now done. So it was just basically clip it, fold it over, fell it. So that's done. This has been filled down on both sides. Okay, so I just need to do the lining and then the buttonholes and then we're done? Maybe? Oh, I have to install the belt buckle thing, which I don't know how to do, and there's no instructions with the ones I got, so I'll watch a YouTube video. Hopefully I will be able to get that done tomorrow because I would love to have this finished. I love this vest. I think it's awesome and I'm done working on it. Like, I'm ready for this to be over. Tailoring is fun and exciting and effective and tedious and takes forever, so and I'm already slow, so yeah, I do have a lot more work to go because I think putting in the lining is going to be quite a lot of hand sewing. And then I just need to figure out if the buttonhole placement is correct or not, and if not, then I have to figure out what it should be by myself and a corset. Cool beans. We'll deal with that tomorrow. Okay, it's tomorrow. I have taken the lining pieces and ironed under the seam allowance, which is what they tell you to do. And then you just kind of park it in here and baste it down and then fell this baby all the way around. So it kind of just hangs in there and it like starts way over and way up. I should point my camera where I want you guys to see. That's like a rule number 1 about making videos, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna try to figure this out. When I put the piece without doing under the seam allowances, it seemed really, what is the word? Like not big enough, but this is even smaller and it says to do it. So we're gonna see how this goes. Okay, it'll actually be absolutely fine is what I just learned. I was talking to my friend Wendy and I'm like, it looks completely wonky, but honestly I've learned with patterns that sometimes you read the instructions and you're like, what? And then you lay the piece down and you're like, what? And then you just do the thing and you're like, oh. So this is one of those times. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin this down and then baste it down and then fell it down. And we are heavily pinned. Shortly we will be heavily basted. Hello, I thought I would chat to you. It's like forever later. It's the same day though, this time. So most of the time I come back days later. So at least this one, it's the same exact day. I'm about to baste that lining down. Many things have happened since then. I don't know if I mentioned this, but behind my pond, we have a koi pond, and it wasn't a thing I wanted. It was just a thing that like came with this house, and I actually would not choose to have this koi pond were I to have to put this koi pond in myself, because it's kind of a giant money pit. Ponds leak, as it turns out. I mean, they don't leak regularly or anything, but they do have, like, when they have issues, they are like kind of catastrophic issues. So I mean, I think the koi are cool and I think the pond is beautiful, but man, would never do this again. Anyway, behind the pond there is all the equipment that runs the filters and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a 2,000 gallon pond. It's massive. It's like, it's not like a swimming pool or anything, but has 2 giant rock waterfalls that flow into it and stuff. So there's a lot of machinery that go into the running of this pond. So the guy who lived here before me was like this home automation dude who was like into his like he designed the pond himself and he built it himself. So all the filters are like janky jerry-rigged things that you have to like go find weird pieces for at Home Depot and stuff. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so he just threw a giant pile of stuff that either he used one time and didn't work for him, or was extras from whatever he was working on, and like, you know, pipes and filter material, and there was a bunch of buckets from planters, like planting trees, so like, you know, the temporary black things that trees and plants and stuff come in. There's a whole bunch of those back there. Just all this stuff back thrown in the corner, and I've managed to ignore it for the last 6 years, but I was putting up party lights in my backyard. I think I mentioned this like a month ago, and I was like, oh yeah, all this stuff. While I'm off, I should deal with this stuff. So I dealt with it, and I dealt with it by moving all the stuff onto our like patio area so that it wouldn't annoy the crap out of me, so that I would go ahead and take and do something with it. So every night I've been going out. It's like 100 degrees out right now. Like, not right now, but during the day. I think it was 96 today and it's supposed to be 102 tomorrow. It's really hot out. So I wait till the sun is like almost down, so like 7, and then I go out and I deal with a little part of this at a time. I also have a herniated disc. I don't know if I've ever told you guys that. Probably. So I have a herniated disc in my back. So I have to be careful about how much like heavy duty like lifting stuff I do, because it's sort of bad for my back. And I totally manage my herniated disc. It's not like I'm in pain all the time. But if I do something stupid, I will 100% be in pain. So I do little sections of cleaning off the stuff that I'm going to keep every night. I have gone through it all and managed to get rid of all the stuff that I don't think we need, because there's a whole bunch of like buckets that used to have trees in them and stuff. So I got rid of all that kind of stuff. So now I just have to take, well, that's not true. There are still like poles that I need to get rid of, and I don't really know how to do that because they don't fit in my trash can. So anyway, I have to take the rest of the stuff, which is covered in mud and leaves and spiders and all sorts of gross stuff because it's been sitting under a bunch of trees decomposing in the back of my my yard for, well, the 6 years I've owned it, and it looked like it had been there when I got here, so definitely longer than that. And like take a sponge and scrub it all off, and like it's great for the yard because right now it's hot and the, you know, the lawn will suffer from that. So the extra watering it's getting from me hosing stuff off, which I would be doing anyway, is great for the yard. So anyway, I did a bunch of, this is a really long story over something super boring. I'm cleaning my yard, guys, is what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, I did a bunch of that. I have a little side project that I'm doing that I hate being one of those YouTubers about, but you guys will find out very soon what it is. And it's fun. It doesn't really have anything to do with costuming, but it's still fun. So hopefully my Patreon members will get first crack at that. It's not costuming related at all, but it'll be fun for them to see it. And then we will, very shortly after that, let it go out into the world, which will be fun. My day just flew by. Like I said, time is weird, especially during this time. Like, I don't know, it seems like I have all the time in the world and no time at all. And it feels like time is really slow and also super fast. It's very strange. So the vast majority of you guys said you're doing very well in lockdown / kind of like it. So that's great. I'm glad it is making some of you very happy, actually. That is better than I anticipated by a lot. So yay. And I'm glad that most of you are doing pretty well. That makes me very happy. So I finished Ready Player One, and I like it again. It's the second time I've read it, actually. And I'm moving on to the Witcher Saga book one. Someone told me that the first, I think it was Morgan, told me that the first book that was written was not the saga, and then they wrote the saga, and that first book is not that good. So I'm gonna read the first book of the saga part. I have not seen the TV show, but people keep telling me it's very good, so I will check that out. Oh, the ad, I think the reason I didn't watch it is the ad just looked stupid, but people keep telling me no, it's actually really good. And a lot of people seem to like the costumes a lot, so I'm excited to see what's going on there. Oh, a lot of you have asked me about Dakota, so maybe I should give you guys a Dakota update. Dakota is the same. Actually, she's worse in some ways. She's very, very thin. But basically the doctor doesn't know what's wrong with her. So she's just dying. And she's dying very slowly. And we've had other cats that have done this too, where like usually they have cancer and we know what's wrong and we can't do anything about it because it's metastasized, I can't say that word, metastasized, and there's nothing that we can do about it. But with Dakota, we don't actually even know what's wrong. They've sort of ruled out cancer. We don't have any idea how to figure out what's wrong. But she's basically getting thinner and thinner, but she's very happy. Like, she's eating, she's going to the bathroom, she's grooming herself. She's crawling up on us and screaming at us that she wants to make biscuits on my shoulder constantly. She does not want to make biscuits on Chris's shoulder. It must be my shoulder. And if I look at my phone while she's doing it, she considers it base treachery and starts screaming at me. So in an effort to make my kitty comfortable for whatever the length of time she has left, I am like, okay, cool, let's do it. So that's what's going on. Basically, she could last, and like if she died next week, it would not shock me, and if she died in a year, it would not shock me. I was talking to Hannah, and I was like, she looks like a little skeleton with a cat inside of a cat bag. I mean, like, she looks like a skeletal cat. It's like Target at Halloween. It's bad, but she seems to be feeling okay, I guess, or she's become used to it. I don't know, but she's doing all the normal things. She just looks horrible, and we see her eat. Like, I watch her eat. I watch her go to the bathroom. I watch her drink water. I watch her do all the things. So it's not like she's not getting some fundamental part of her important daily whatever. It's just whatever it is taking over her system and not doing very well. So that is the report. It's sad, but it's true, and we're happy that she's still with us right now and that we can give her, you know, her best life while she's around. So I think that's all we can do. Okay, I have to rethread another needle. What are you guys listening to or reading or watching or any of those things? I'm watching The Great, which is funny. I will give it that. It's not the best television program in the world. It's kind of garbage, but there is a certain special someone in my life who works on that show, and so I want to see all the pretty dresses she made. So I am watching The Great. It is very irreverent, I will give it that. Like, it's very funny in that way. There's some sex scenes that are vile in that show though. Like, no, like, not to give you a horrible spoiler, but there's at one point he is literally having sex with someone and then vomits on them. And I'm just like, was that necessary? Like, I mean, it is, the vomit is a plot point, but like, you did not need to have that go down at that moment. They did it, it's just like gratuitous. But it's a fairly entertaining show, I will give it that. There are some very, very funny moments in that show. Oh, people were asking me if I preferred the longer or shorter needles. Shorter for felling and longer for basting is what I have decided. And that seems appropriate to what I would expect, because you need to have like a longer needle for basting, and a shorter needle for felling makes it easier to fell, so that makes sense logically. Speaking of needles, because we were talking about it, I looked the other day on eBay at old needles, basically vintage needles, and I found the most curious thing. It seems like back in the day, you know how people used to give away like matchbooks at the counter of wherever you were? Well, they also had needles. So there's like all these needle packets that you can buy on eBay that are vintage, that are like, I don't know, Safeway needles, but the ones that are fascinating, and if you're bored, go look this up on eBay. Like, search vintage needle book insurance company. So it seems like there was a ton of different insurance companies who were giving out needle books, and then it was like, with our compliments from blah 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 insurance, and then like a 5-pack of needles, and I was like, why do we not do this anymore? Like, that is fantastic. I would be so pumped if I went somewhere and they were like, have some needles on the house, ma'am. I'd be like, fan-frickin-tastic. Like, we have lost our edge, is what I have to say. I was also looking at like vintage door knockers. They have ones from Victorian times. They had the most badass door knockers back then, and like locks, just like a padlock that looks like an owl. Just amazing, cool stuff that you're just like, why don't we do this anymore? Like, we have the capacity to design anything and everything in any way we want, and we do it in the most boring way possible. Like, why would we not make awesome looking locks anymore? To be fair, those locks had like, you know, a big key that you could obviously pick the lock with like a hairpin, but you could do a modern lock that had a modern key or combination even, or whatever, and still have like it be awesome looking. I feel like we've really like lost the art in our everyday living. And also, I want people to give needles away because then I would really never have to buy needles again. Actually, I don't go through needles. Maybe I'm not using them properly, but like, unless it starts catching on something, I use my needle like forever until I lose it. There's gonna be someone who's gonna come on here and be like, you should use a different needle for every single job you do because it'll be sharper and blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay. Probably not. I use whatever needle's like in front of me most of the time. Ow, oh, pin in my arm. Oh god, that hurt. Okay, we're gonna remove these pins that are sitting down here on the end, jabbing me in the arm as I try to sew. Awesome. I would like to get this video up in 2 days, and I know that I said that I was not going to put my pressure on myself in order to finish a video. Why would I do that? Blah blah blah. No, I want it done. Like I said, I'm over making this vest at this point, so I'm like, nope. This is getting done by the time this video goes live, so I have given myself today and then 2 more days in order to finish this vest. And all I have to do is sew in this lining, sew on the buckle, which is not a big deal, and then do the buttons. So if I can't do that in 2 days, then I should hand in my sewist card, because I feel like that should be possible. I mean, I could totally get distracted, which I keep doing, so that's also possible. But hopefully that's not what will go down here, and I will finish this up and show it off to you. I think it's looking really good so far. Like, I'm happy with it. I'm proud of it. I think it's a beautiful piece of clothing, and I am happy with this project, and I would make this again. In fact, I will make this again because I want to make one that's longer and bigger so that I don't have to wear a corset with it, because this particular one right here that I'm looking at requires a corset. I am managing to get through, like, I think half of my bobbin case is now full of empty bobbins, because I'm finally using up all the extra, like, random colored thread that my grandma left in the case full of bobbins that she gave me. That is very gratifying. Like, to be able to be like, yeah, all these bobbins, I actually used up the extra too. Like, I used it on legitimate projects. I used it on muslins, I used it as basting thread. I feel good about this. Okay, I need to baste one more small seam and then I can start felling. So this lining does not cover all of the random tiny edges. I feel like I should fell this guy down. This is probably fine. But it's pretty close, and I feel like that's good enough. I'm sure I could have, like, moved this over slightly in order to cover maybe 1 or 2 more, but I think it's fine. All right, so I have one lining completely felled in. This is the part that I'm like, oh, that's not felled or anything. It's just kind of hanging out. And there's like a little chunk right there. There's a little chunk right here, and there's a little chunk right there. And they're all just sticking out, which I'm like, okay, it is what it is. Moving along, like, this one's gonna have the same thing right here. But it is what it is. So I am gonna wait and do this other one, fell this one down tomorrow because my hands are hurting, and it's also like 2:15 in the morning and I think I should go to bed. So I'm gonna do that, but I'm way close to being done. All right, it's the next day. I just want to get this done. So I am in here and I have pretty much all day except when I squirrel to go clean or clean up the backyard again or whatever. So I'm gonna fell this other lining down, and I have 2 more sets of instructions to do. One is the buttons and one is to put on the buckle, and I'm all good. Look at all these bobbins that I cleared out. Why am I so proud of this? I don't even know why this matters so much to me, but I'm like, yay! I mean, obviously these white ones I can just keep, and any black ones really, but all these other ones are like fodder for me to get rid of. Like, am I ever gonna wear anything this color? Probably not. It looks like it washes me out. So I should use this to thread mark with and stuff. So here's my weird focus points during COVID. Like, how many bobbins can I get cleaned? I have this second little case full of them too, so the race doesn't end when I finish this case, unfortunately. Okay, this fur color covered lining is now in. I still have, like, questions right here. I might just fell this down because it bothers me. There's one on both sides and they annoy me, so I think I'm gonna just pop those down real quick, and then I think I'm feature complete on the construction sewing. I just need to do a try on, but I have to wait for my husband to get off of his meeting to put me in my corset so I can do that. So I'll probably just fell those down and, like, roller this thing. By the way, people keep asking me how I don't have cat hair all over me all the time. I, in fact, do have cat hair all over me all the time. You can see this. I don't know. Can you guys see my floor? Let's just zoom in. I vacuumed this floor like 4 days ago. This is what happens. There's no cats in here except an occasional Keanu. It comes in under the door. But yeah, now you guys know my mess. This is my secret shame. Not really secret. This is the secret. I feel like I should have stock in 3M and Scotch-Brite and all that stuff because I have like 8 of these laying around my house and I just roller everything all the time. The buckle has been installed and everything has been wiped down. So I'm gonna go have some food because, as you know, it's important to fill your belly with fluffy carbs before you put on your corset to try on a new piece of clothing, because snacks need to be eaten while you're in costume. Alrighty, so here we are. The button placement is slightly off. It's good actually until about here, and then these two diverge a little bit, which means I'll also have to move these guys, but that's okay. They'll just move into a more like straight position, which is fine. So I just have to figure out how to mark this. I think I'm gonna run a line of pins straight up the edge here so that I know where the edge needs to be, and then just establish the buttons from there instead of following whatever these X's are. There's a weird, I don't know if you guys can see it, like crease, wrinkle, bubble. It's like a bubble situation right here, but I think that will steam out over time. Like, can I get in the light? So is that, yeah, you can kind of see it more there. And I think it's just because this is like the intersection of these two darts that like both end right here, which is strategically placed. So I think I just need to keep steaming it and it will eventually come out. So I feel like the back fits really nice. It does stick out a little bit, like it flares, which is good because I'm gonna have a skirt and a shirt underneath this. I just have a tank top on right now, so that's good. I feel like other than this bubble, which is like highly annoying, and I just keep going like this, which means I'm like holding my boob, everything else looks really good about this. I feel very satisfied with it. I just need to get the buttons in and we are all a go. I haven't really considered the buttons, but now I have to. Cool. I think I'm gonna do fabric covered buttons in this same material. I just gotta figure out if I have ones that are a size that I'm pleased with. So yeah, I'm just gonna go pin this line down. I might very lightly chalk it in, although that's scary at this point, but maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it'll be fine. All right, I may or may not have just ironed my own self while I'm in this thing, but it is getting better, so I believe it will get better. I pinned this line, so hopefully that's enough to tell me where the buttons go. I am standing here trying to figure out if I want to sew buttonholes in with my corset on, because it's easier to try it on as you go and make sure everything fits. But I think buttonholes is too much for my poor heart to handle, so yeah, I think I'm gonna take it off, mark them all, and then do the needful. Just so we're all clear, and so I don't have to come back and say it, I'm gonna go procrastinate doing buttonholes because I don't like doing this. So I'm gonna go not do those for a little while and then come back here later and feel slightly okay about procrastinating them. I would feel guilty normally, but no, not really. It's pre-planned procrastination, so it's perfectly acceptable. It is several hours later. I was downstairs watching Farscape. I like cleaned up some stuff in the backyard. I took some stuff to the post office. I've been avoiding the heck out of this. Chris was like, why are you avoiding this? This is literally the last step you have to do. Like, what's the problem? And I was like, and then I said the thing out loud, which I haven't really said, which is, if I mess this up, that's a month's worth of work and all that hand sewing. And I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna see if the buttons that I have that I want to fabric cover can work. If so, I have to like forage fabric, I think, off. I mean, I have other yardage of this fabric, I guess. I could just go get some, but I was just gonna use the pockets I made and like take chunks off of those and make buttons out of that. So I'm gonna make sure those buttons are the right size and they're gonna work, and then I'm gonna figure out the buttonholes, like where they're gonna go, and then I'm gonna mark the buttonholes, and then I'm gonna thread mark the buttonholes. And then I'm gonna do a test buttonhole practice, and then I'm gonna make some buttonholes. So hopefully this works out. All right, here's the line that I drew in. So these actually separate, but really what I'm gonna have them do is basically just stay parallel. I'm gonna close this up, pin it, turn it inside out, and mark where the other side is. So like basically where this line is, so that I can get my eyes on where these go. These two, I think these first three were actually fine, although this is kind of far over, so I'll just set it in a little bit and then basically just carry them up and move these down too. They look cool when they're separated, but yeah, it's not in the cards. All right, so I'm glad I made samples because these two look like crap, but these two look way better. So I feel better. This fabric slides when you're trying to make buttonholes, so noted, and I will have to exert more control. But I've got two that I feel good about. Okay, I've thread marked them so that it's more obvious, and as you see, the chalk is getting all over the place, so it's a good thing because it rubs off really easy and rubs on other things really easy, so at least it's all marked now. Okay, it's gonna be okay. Show no fear. Don't ever show buttonholes fear. That's the thing. Just go over to the machine, knock them out, and come right back. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, buttonholes are in. It's done. I need to go iron them, clip all the threads off, and then cut them open. And then I need to start making buttons. Okie dokie, I have these guys opened up and ready to go. I took off the markings, which were pointless on this side, so noted for next time. I have made 10 buttons. They were kind of a biznatch to make, actually. Turns out wool is a pain in the ass with this situation, so I could definitely use button molds and make them the other way next time. But that is not what I have done this time. So I am going to use them, and tomorrow I will place them and sew them on. And then try it on and maybe take some photos and call this vlog good. Yay! I'm super excited to almost be done. I just have this one thing to do, and then, you know, photos and show you guys and all that stuff, but woo-woo! I'm super excited. I would do this tonight, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I feel like there's rules. I shouldn't have probably even cut these buttonholes as late as I did, but I was like, nope, they're getting cut open. So yeah, lots of learning on this project. I will say there's a lot more hand sewing than I expected. Like, I did read all the instructions and I still was like, wait a minute, more hand sewing? Wait, more hand sewing? I realized like the one spool of thread I had, I didn't even really need that. Like, I really had to sew it. I sewed, I think, the back, no, I sewed the side seam with that. I didn't even really have to do that though. I could have sewn the side seam with black because the back is black. So I really just needed it for the buttonholes. Oh, and the darts, yeah, okay. And the pocket. But really, this whole thing was pretty much, it was sewn together like on the outside by machine, but the entirety of the inside is hand done. So that's pretty crazy. I am having an emotional roller coaster of a day. Woo! Okay, so I didn't get to sleep till 7:30 this morning. And then my watch wakes me up at 12:30 no matter what because it reminds me to take my medicine. Cool. I actually want it to because I don't want to sleep any longer. I have stuff to do today. I mean, I want to finish this darn vest and get this video up today. So I like actually needed to wake up. So I feel like that's smart, even though I only got like 5 hours of sleep maybe. It's still like, if I let it slide, it'll keep sliding, right? So now is the time to like stop that in its tracks. So I have very little sleep is what I'm saying. But I had an excellent mail day. I got this parasol and it was a museum decommission and it was like $40 and I couldn't believe I saw it. And the awesome thing about it, I don't think I can even show you, is it's square. All right, to be fair, it's octagonal, but it's a square shape. So I cannot wait to recover this guy. My friend who's the delineator, oh my gosh, his new video is awesome also. You should, I'll link that just for you right here so you can see it. He built a frame for one of his parasols. It's amazing. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, is this square? And he's like, yeah, it is. And he was like, oh, I was gonna bid on that. I'm like, too late, I bought it. So obviously it's completely shattered and I need to recover it, and you can like see the pieces of it falling off already. So I just treat it very carefully for right now, but I don't really care about the cover. I'm in it for the frame. And then these came from Poland. I don't know if you guys would remember because it happened on Instagram, but it seems like forever ago. It seems like 6 months ago or something. I won a giveaway, which is kind of weird in and of itself because I don't win giveaways very often. Like I'm not a winner. I don't win things very often. So I was shocked that I won. And then she said, oh, send me a design you like. So I sent her a design I liked. I sent her actually 2 and I was like, pick one. And the one that was more complicated was this one. And she said the original was actually painted. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll just do the other one because the other one's cool too. And she's like, no, I want to try it. So I'm like, okay. So she used these teeny tiny stitches. Like, it is crazy. Let me zoom back in on this so you can see how small these stitches are. Like, look at that detail work. It's so beautiful. I'm just like in awe of this amount of work. I think the giveaway must have been like maybe late last year. And then at the beginning of this year, I think maybe like February, she had some other project to do. Maybe it was like December. And then, yeah. And then she had some project to do, so she finished it. And then she worked on these, and they obviously took forever because this is a crazy amount of work. And she was doing this for me for free. Like, who gives away something this beautiful? Anyway, so, like, I think it was sometime in like February or maybe early March. She's like, they're done. And she was gonna send them out. The Polish border had closed because of COVID, and so she couldn't get them to me. So I was like, oh crap. So at the beginning of May, she was like, okay, the border opened up, so I'm sending them out now. And I'm like, fantastic. So she sent them out at the beginning of May, and it is like the last few days of May now. So it took like a month for them to get here, and I was kind of worried about them the whole time because I was like, oh, that's so much like time of her work. They're so pretty. I'm so grateful for them. They're so beautiful. She is on Etsy here, so here's the information, and I will make a card up here if you want to go check her Etsy out. And I will go ahead and link her down below. She's Bittersweet History on Instagram, so check her out because she's awesome. She's like super cool, and she lives in Poland, and yeah, I'm super excited. All right, so I'm gonna put these buttons on now, and then I'm done, and I can just like model this thing and get this video out. So fantastic. I was talking to a few of you last night though on Instagram, and it occurred to me that, because they said so. Oh, by the way, everyone who got my hook reference last time, I see you. Anyway, it occurred to me that people are nervous not necessarily always about the buttonholes, but actually putting the buttons on. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it, which is not what everybody else thinks. Everyone seems to think, oh, you mark all the buttons and then you put them all on, and then maybe they line up, maybe they don't. And I'm like, no, I do them one at a time, and I unbutton and button all of them up as I go to make sure that it's working. So that if anything gets off even a little bit, I just take it off and do it again. So I'll show you that process. Okay, so the first ones I'm gonna set are these 2 bottom ones, and I'm setting them there because I'm interested in this point being like overlapping just perfectly. So I'm gonna sit here and futz with this and get them lined up the way I want these two to sit. Normally on a bodice or something, I would go ahead and do the top one first because that's the one everybody looks at. So it's the one you want lined up the most perfect. So I just pick the one that matters the most to me and I set that one first. So I'm gonna actually set both of these, and all I'm gonna do to do this is stick this chalk pencil in there and mark right. Like not actually in the center because your button isn't gonna sit in the center, it's gonna pull over a little bit, but just over a little bit. And I'm just gonna make a mark, and then I'll flip it up and make sure the mark is there and everything's cool, and I'll go in and make sure, and I'll put these 2 buttons on, and then I will come back and I will button these buttons and I will set the next 2. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so you can see the 2 holes that I have here. One of the things I will check is that they are equidistant down. They might be slightly off because they're not exactly centered precisely over this, so it's okay if they're a little bit off, but I don't want them to be super crooked. So I will check that, and if it's wrong, I'll go back and re-look at it again just to make sure. Okay, so these 2 are on, so now I will button them, I will reset everything, and I will mark the next 2. Okay, so these are looking great, so perfect, and I will just go ahead and mark exactly the same way, double checking and making sure that this is sitting along my line and all that, like several times throughout the process. Okay, well, this happened. Obviously, I'm not pleased. So I need to make another one. And this does happen from time to time. I do sometimes put glue on the inside of them, like while I'm building them. and the wool doesn't really want to make itself into buttons very easily, so I have a feeling I might have casualties here, and I might order other button molds and change these out later. But in the interest of the fact that you guys say you love it when I show you all the problems I have, this happens, so make sure you always have extra buttons if you're going to do these kind of covered buttons, and prepare yourself to make extras. It has also occurred to me you may want to know how I do this, and it's really hard to film, so I'm not going to do that, but I will tell you. I put a knot in, and I put that in first. I bring it back up through, and then I run it through the button and push it down, and I do that 3 or 4, so probably 4 or 5 times actually, and I like try to get it to go like as wide as the bottom of the shank is, rather than all piled up in one spot, so it holds it very stably. And then I bring it back through onto the outside, so like under here, and I run the needle through the pile of like all these threads that are coming across. I run it right underneath that loop so that it goes through all of them, and I tie a knot, and I do that twice. And then I stick the needle in and I pull it out like over here, so it's between the layers of fabric. I pull it out and then I chop it off so the end lead is buried, and it makes a very nice tidy on both sides situation. Okay, there is exactly what I mean. See how I pulled the needle through that? And then I just tie a knot, and then I do that twice. Another pro tip here is whenever you're putting it back together so you can do the next set, is like pull them apart, because on you they're going to be pulled apart, so the buttons actually don't sit in the middle, they sit like on the edge of the buttonhole, really, because that's how buttons work. So make sure you do that, because if you don't do that and you set them in the middle, the next button will be in the wrong spot, like permanently. Well, not permanently, because you can just reset the button, but who wants to do that? I'm a girl in a vest, and I am pumped. I'm gonna go outside and take some shots, and then I will give you a little video montage of those shots here, just so you have them. And we are calling it Feature Complete. And I've already had a button come apart. There it is. Rad. Okay, well, at least the pictures are done. This is complete. I'm gonna order some button molds from Burnley and Trowbridge and just cover them and go ahead and redo the buttons on this. But I'm still calling this done. It's done. That's a mend. We are now mending something that is complete. But that does conclude this vlog, which is fantastic, because yay, I got it done, and I got it done in May, so excellent. I think I'm going to work on the American Duchess cape next, but that's weird, because it's hot. Kind of don't care. We'll see how that goes next vlog. So if you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up. If you like my vest, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like my vest, give it a thumbs down twice. And subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you guys next time with another vlog. And leave me comments down below. Let me know what you guys are reading, what you're doing, what you're making, all that kind of stuff. See you guys next time.